So, good evening, Pratyush.
Good evening, Krish.
Congratulations on getting selected as a data scientist in SS Supply Chain.
Congratulations to you too for your placement.
So, how is life in BITS going?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad I found you guys. Yeah, it's nice.
So, do you like online sem more, or like you prefer this?
Obviously, offline sem is much better because you get to experience the campus life and you get to meet new people. So yeah, it's always nice.
So, let's talk about you. Like, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah. So actually, I belong to Himachal Pradesh, and I have done my BTech from University Institute of Technology, Himachal Pradesh University, and I am 2020 pass out. So yeah, and from here, after it, I joined BITS.
So, you got passed out in 2020 from your bachelor's, and you directly took admission in BITS.
Yeah.
So, we heard that you took admission into some other college through your GATE score. So, you preferred BITS over that. So,
Yeah.
was there any specific reason for that?
Yeah, the main specific reason was, we can say, was the practice school, because you get to experience much, and I haven't done any much internships before coming here. I was just directly came here, so I have no work experience. So it is like exposure that helps you to get settled in the industry. So I like this one very much, and because of that, that was the main reason.
So, was there any reason regarding the curriculum that was being offered here that was not being offered the college you took admission?
No, nothing like that. I didn't even check the curriculums before.
Okay. So before we move on, I'd like to ask if you whether you took any GATE coaching or anything like that for BITS.
No, I didn't take any kind of coaching for GATE or BITS. Yeah.
So let's come to the placement process. So can you tell us about the eligibility criteria and what was the interview process like before we get into the details of it?
Yeah, so the minimum eligibility criteria, I guess, was 65% throughout your academics, and there were one written round and 2 interview rounds.
So how many people were like sat for the written test, and how many were selected throughout the process?
I cannot tell the exact statistics, I don't know them, but but the placement process was combined for all the 3 campuses. So I guess after first written round, only 5-6 people were selected, and I was only one to get selected for this round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there were 2 interviews, as you said, right?
Yeah.
So before we move on to the interviews, can you tell us about the written test? Like, what was the written test about, and what was the questions asked, and what was the pattern like?
So the role was specific to data scientist. So the questions were completely based on that part only. The Python knowledge was must required. They had questions regarding that, what would be the output, what would be the error regarding that only. And there were questions really specific to lists, tuples and all. And there were some questions related to machine learning, probability, statistics and all. So I guess there were a total of 30 or 40 questions. I don't remember the exact number, but there were 30 or 40 questions.
So were there any language options provided? Like, you could do something on R or Python, or
no,
there
the
was
questions were specific to Python.
Okay, so the questions were specific to Python, and were there any problem or coding problems involved?
No, there were no coding problems involved.
Okay, so the pattern was like a multiple choice questionnaire.
Yeah, multiple choice questions, and I guess there were options, multiple options also, like more than one option.
Okay, so you needed to have a good knowledge about Python language as well.
Python and basic machine learning, as well as statistics and probability.
Right. So moving on to the interview process, like, can you brief us about how the first interview went for you, and what were the things that were asked?
Okay, so the first interview had HR when I entered the interview panel. So HR took brief intro about myself. Then she introduced me to the guy who was going to take the interview. So he was some senior data scientist in the same company, and then he asked me questions. Firstly, it started with introduction, and then he asked me about like how much I know about machine learning and all. So after it, he started asking me about like if I have done anything regarding it in my curriculum. Then the questions were based upon like algorithms related to machine learning, like basic algorithms, KNN, decision tree, to know that how well I understand the functioning of these algorithms. Yeah. So it also had questions related to stats and probability.
So your basic understanding about the data science and machine learning was there. And were there any problem statements or data sets given to you for like conduct operations on it?
No, nothing like that. But they made scenarios like specific to their company, what they were doing, and they saw my approach, that how I would be dealing with these problems. So yeah, like they made real life problems. I remember that there were two problems. One was an optimization problem that I had to solve using machine learning algorithm, and the second one was regarding missing data problem. So I had to fill the data entries that were not present in the database. So I gave basic approaches, and then he kept on making it more complex. Like, if what if this happens? What if this is the scenario? So then I have to deal with all these scenarios, and it was complete discussion. It went around for 15-20 minutes regarding this part, and he kept on improving me, and I tried to give my suggestions on it again and again. So yeah, it went on like that.
So it was a discussion between two parties, and they were discussing about data science scenarios as well.
Data science scenarios that would be like really specific to their company.
Right.
Yeah.
Understood. So, and also you told us about the probability and statistics point. So, can you discuss about that? What were the questions, or like what was the concepts asked in that?
He from statistics there was just one question. He asked me one basic definition of Chebyshev's inequality. So, and asked me about how it can be interpreted in real life or something like that. And then he moved on to probability distributions. Mainly, we discussed about normal distribution, concepts like kurtosis and skewness and all. And after it, he also told me to tell about where we can find them in the real lives, and where the skewness can be used in real world problems and all. So yeah.
So, was there anything else in the first interview that we might be missing on?
The another thing that they asked was regarding time series data. So I guess they told me that they work the work involves a lot of time series data, but I don't. But they asked me that if you have done any project regarding it, and this was a common question in both the interviews. But I haven't done anything in the time series data. But I told them that I have worked on the underlying structures. I know how they work. So there was a bit theoretical discussion on the concept. So they checked that how well I know that concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the second interview that you talked about. So, can you tell us how many students were like selected for the second interview, or there was no details?
I have no idea regarding it.
So you told us about the second interview process. Like, not many people, you don't have any idea about the people getting selected. But can you tell us about what the interview process was like, and what the discussion was about?
Yeah, so the second interview was taken by one guy, and in this interview he started with basic intro, and then he moved on to the projects. So the first project was related to the CNNs, and then we started discussing about it. So I had done like various parts in the projects, and he firstly told me to like give an overview. Then he took every part and asked me in details. For example, I remember that he asked me about that how I've performed feature extraction. Then I told him that I've used hog extractor. Then he asked me that how does this work, and what are the internal functionings of this and all. And then we discussed about CNNs only. So yeah, and he asked me about how I have made the model. So the model was some predefined model, and we used transfer learning. So then the discussion moved on to transfer learning. So it was like a discussion in which he was asking me that how well I know the concepts that I have implemented. Then he moved on to ask that how can we further improve the accuracy. Then I gave some points, and yeah, it was about it.
So it was all from your resume and the projects you have worked upon throughout your resume.
Yeah, so and also I remember that then he moved on to second project, and then he asked about RSUs, LSTM, and he told me that work involves NLP and all. So how will you know about it? Okay. So he checked that thing also. So,
okay, so he also asked you and grilled you about future enhancements in your projects that that were possible, and whether you knew about them or not.
Yeah, if I could be, I have some idea about how it can be improved or something.
Okay, so you told us about this projects in your resume. So can you tell us about the significance of your resume through this process? Was there any round of resume shortlisting, or was there like throughout the placement process, for not just for this specific company, but do you think like resume or projects helped you a lot, or can you give a overview?
Obviously I am a fresher, so I didn't have any understanding that how important the resume is. So you only told me and checked my resume, so thanks for that. And yeah, it was really helpful. Obviously it depends that how will you structure your projects. So you should be making the good projects, and also you should be explaining them in a really good manner. So that matters. For my company, I don't think there was any resume shortlisting, but there were many companies who were like searching for specific skills. Like, so they would be checking your resume that if you have mentioned those skills, have you worked upon that thing, and also yeah, resume matters.
So moving on to the later part. So only you were selected after the second interview.
Yeah.
So there were no any other interview process or shortlisting process after the second interview, right?
No, there were. We got email that you have been.
Okay. So let's talk about the data science journey of your personal data science journey, because you have secured a very alluring role of data scientist. So can you talk to us more about how you approached data science, like initial understanding and gathering knowledge about it, and how you started with this understanding of, so because our viewers who are aspiring to get into this field, they might be wanting to know about how to initialize their approach. So can you tell them about that?
Yes. So firstly, I started with basic introduction for statistics and probability, for which I used edX. There is a edX course by MIT in which they give intro about statistics and probability for machine learning, and so I used it. Then I got interest in it. Then I learned Python, and then further I started taking some courses that helped me in learning machine learning.
So you said you learned Python. So is there any language specific that is like best suitable for this sort of field, or you would say there's no foundation of, like in DS, there's no foundation of any language you can, any OOPS language that you can use. So is there anything like that?
The thing is that you have very good libraries, and you would be working on libraries in most of the time until you are doing the research work, because they are the best implementations available. So for machine learning and statistics, I guess R and Python are the best choice that you would be getting. So yeah, most of the people would learn in these two languages. Both would be really good if you can understand both.
Okay. So moving on to that, before coming to masters, like how much your understanding was before the masters and during your bachelor years, what projects you worked upon, and after coming to masters, were there any courses or curriculums that helped you groom for the placement process, and like talk to us about that?
So the thing is that the curriculum itself is like very tedious. It is not easy curriculum, as we all know. So before coming to bachelors, most of the work was done before coming to bachelors, the things that I understood. So after coming to masters, I took some subjects that were helpful, like data mining and deep learning and all. So but the thing is that they help you in real world implementations. You can make projects, but you cannot acquire all the language in one go, because the time in every semester is very limited.
Right.
But you can do it if you want, I guess. But for my case, most of the things that I've learned were from bachelors only. And here I learned the implementation part of it, like how they can be used in the projects and how really we can work on these.
So you are trying to say you made and implemented projects based on your previous learning in bachelor's?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So are there any specific courses apart from edX and MIT and languages you have already recommended that you want to recommend for this initial stage learning of data science if somebody wants to?
Yeah, for there are some like edX specializations for data science particularly, but I have done like deep learning specialization and some courses from free courses from fast.ai. If you want to learn the implementation part, fast.ai is really good resource.
Okay, so thanks for sharing that. And talking about this placement process, did you do any special preparation regarding this data science role for this company or any other company that you were appearing in?
No, the thing was that most of the companies come for that like developer role. So you would be working on that only because if you want to increase your chances. So throughout the placement process, I was doing the data structures, algorithms, that stuff only, and revising my gate syllabus. For a data science part, I only worked when the company was about to come. Like if you have cleared the written interview, then you would be revising some concepts.
Right.
So yeah, most of the focus was on SDE role only.
Okay.
Because
so the opportunities, how would you compare the opportunities in data science role as compared to the software development role?
like for during the placement, I would say that most of the companies would come for SDE role only. So yeah, that is the thing, that you don't want to slim down your chances.
Right.
So you would be working for this thing only, like SDE only.
Okay.
And for data science, you cannot, like, what would happen? Like you cannot do everything in one day. Na?
Yeah,
So,
you can't put your eggs in
Yeah.
a single basket. Let's talk about the company that you also went inside the process, like you also went through a process of different data science development company. So can you talk to us about that process? Was it any different, or were there any key different scenarios that you were made to face?
Mainly the interview process was almost the same, like almost same scenario based questions and things like that. They must be talking about some particular techniques that would be different, for different companies. But the main difference was regarding the test only. In the test they gave some mock data to work upon and write some solutions, and there were basic Python algorithm questions are also there. So yeah.
So you were made to do, like, can you be specific about the operations you were made to do for that mock data?
They were like the mock data was given, and you had to work upon like using some algorithms. Like you can use libraries, scikit-learn and all, and you have to just use them and implement it and get the desired accuracy and all. That was.
Okay, so I think you have given us a very nice insight about the data science aspects of the placement process. Do you have anything aspiring or inspirational, or anything words of motivation or wisdom to say to the viewers that are aspiring for this role?
Yeah, I would just say that you should start early and prepare well. That's all. Just start early and you would be able to achieve it.
Okay, so that goes for anything
Huh.
anybody wants to achieve, so that's a common thing. So it was a pleasure talking to you, Pratyush, and all the best for your future.
Same to you. All the best to you also.